Hey everyone, it's Shakira, also known as the Dope Doula, and I am so excited to be back with you with another video and also another video series. And I'm really excited about this series because in this one, I am trying to get you pregnant. Well, not me actually, but we are going to be spending the next few weeks talking about what it means to conceive and how to get pregnant. The reason why I wanted to focus on this series and this conversation is because in our reproductive education that we experience as young people, so much of it is centered around prevention and how not to get pregnant. And there is some merit to that being helpful and informative in one sense when you're younger, and when you're someone who reaches the point in your life when you want to conceive, the burden of finding education for family planning can be really intense. And there are many people who, when interacting with medical care providers and trying to understand what their conception journey is going to look like, they experience a lot of bias depending on their race, their socioeconomic status, their gender, or whether they're non-binary, their sexual orientation, and quite frankly, their age. And that goes on both sides of the spectrum, whether your medical care provider perceives you as someone being too young to be thinking about having a baby, or if your medical care provider perceives you as being too old. We've all likely heard the expression geriatric pregnancy, which can be a form of stigma and harmful and dangerous bias. And so I wanted us to have this conversation and go through this series as a way of providing you some resources and information to be thinking about as you start going through your own conception journey. And so in today's chat, we're going to start with the basics of getting pregnant, which is ovulation. Now, contrary to popular belief, it is actually not easy to get pregnant. Because there are 7 billion people in the world today, it feels like making a baby happens just on a whim. And that's not true. It actually takes a lot of careful timing and planning and being intentionally in tune with your body if you have a uterus, and also some very clear communication with your partner or your medical care provider or whomever is going to be assisting you in the process of your conception. If you are someone who has a uterus, you have a very finite window in which you can conceive. In the process of ovulation, we have what's known as the fertile window. And that fertile window is when you are most likely to be able to conceive a baby. That is contingent upon your menstrual cycle. And your menstrual cycle is different from the act of menstruating, in that your menstrual cycle is the full cycle between each period of menstruation in which ovulation is included. And so your ovulation is the moment that an egg is released from one of your ovaries. And once that egg is released from an ovary, it has the potential to be fertilized by sperm to create an embryo, which then goes on to become a fetus and then a baby. And so tracking your ovulation is very key. So how do you know that you are ovulating? Well, there are a few ways. First of all, technology has made it very easy for us to be able to predict our ovulation. So you can use things like an app or an actual ovulation predictor kit to be able to tell you when you're likely to ovulate. If you don't want to use technology, if you're somebody who wants to try to understand a more natural rhythm of your ovulation, you can use your body as an indicator. And so about 6 days before your ovulation, you are going to secrete vaginal fluid. And this vaginal fluid or vaginal mucus can be an indicator for where you are in your ovulation period. So 6 days before ovulation, you're going to secrete a mucus that's going to feel a little bit stickier, has a little bit more yellow color, and the texture is going to be a lot more tacky. As you get closer to the moment of ovulation, about 3 days before, that mucus is going to go from that stickier, more tacky texture and that yellow color to a more clear, more watery based fluid that can be akin to like egg white. And so that's going to be another way of indicating where you are in your ovulation cycle. Some people like to use body temperature as an indicator of ovulation. However, body temperature is a reactive indication for whether or not you have ovulated. If you are someone who tracks your full menstrual cycle very closely, you may notice that there are points in that menstrual cycle where you feel your body temperature increase. You may notice that you have a day or two where your body temperature seems to spike. That's an indicator that you have already ovulated. So we have to be careful with using our body temperature as a pre-indicator because it's actually a reactive indicator. So if you are someone who's able to track your ovulation, remembering you have that finite window in which you can conceive. And the reason why that window is so limited is because our eggs and people with penises, sperm, have very short life cycles. So sperm can live in the uterus for up to 5 days. Someone with a uterus who releases an egg, that egg only has a 24-hour window in which it can be fertilized by sperm. And so the moment of conception, that fertile window is actually up to 5 days. And so if you're trying to get pregnant, you want to try to time, that the moment of sex and intercourse 5 days before ovulation up to that day when you're actually ovulating. That's going to give you the most optimal, that is going to be your most prime point, and probably your only point of conception within the month. Now, parenting begins before conception. And if you're thinking about becoming a parent, you're probably already envisioning what that is going to look like in your mind. One of the things that I want you to be thinking about, in addition to all of the other incredible and wonderful things that you're holding space for, is your health leading up to the process of trying to conceive. So if you have a uterus, if you're someone who has a uterus, we come with the eggs that we will always have. From the moment that we're born until we go through our menopausal phase of life. And so we have all the eggs that we're going to have in our inventory. However, we can help the health of our eggs by the way that we create a healthy atmosphere for our ovaries and our bodies. And so in the same way, people with penises are encouraged at least 3 months before trying to conceive to take inventory on their health. So looking at things like their nutrition and diet, to their weight, and any other potential determinants of health that could be mitigating to conceiving. We also encourage people with uteruses to do the same. So 3 months before the actual moment of trying to conceive, just taking inventory of where you are in your health. How is your diet? How is your mental health? Because in addition to our physiological conditions, mental health conditions can also either create a seamless process for getting pregnant, or they can create a bit more difficult process for getting pregnant. You also want to look at things like how is your workout regimen, your genetics, and all other types of factors that could contribute to your process for getting pregnant. So that's where we're going to start our conversation in this series. Please, if you have not already, turn on your notifications to get updates for when I post new videos on Instagram. If you want to receive notifications on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Dope Doula. Like this video, turn on your notifications, and of course, as always, share this with somebody who you think it might be useful for. Until next time, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.